about the family lifestyle. Are you willing to put in the 10 plus years from now before you'll actually be able to have a life, and make money and go to work every day and come home and have kids and take them to the park and things like that. So.
I think that's a definite. I think that life experience is a good thing. Not only just to have had it, but also on your application, life experience is a good thing. Because like I said, I came straight out of Wofford. Like I went to a small private school my whole life, and then I went to a small private college. So my application was awesome, except that I had very little life experience outside of my academic world. And so, and I was told, because my application, like, I ended up being waitlisted. So I called and said, what can I do to improve my application? And they're like, really nothing, which is the most frustrating answer you can possibly get. And they said, except you just have a lack of life experience. Like, how do you know that this is what you want to do with your life and you haven't explored anything else? So if you're considering maybe taking a year off, or let's say you apply and you don't get it in the first time, then look at that as an experience to really explore any other interests you have and get out there. And also, go get some clinical experience. Like, be in a hospital before you go to med school, because you don't want to get into it and be like, wait a second, I hate hospital, I hate patients. It's not a good situation to find yourself in, and I know people who have found themselves in that situation, so go have a patient contact.
And remember how quickly medicine changes. In fact, the landscape is changing now. Particularly even from a medical school standpoint, again, we're getting more medical schools in South Carolina. There's going to be one that opens up in Greenville, there's another DO school that's going to open up in Spartanburg. The hour restrictions for residents are changing. Before I started, they were endless. Right now we have an 80-hour work week, and you can't do more than 30 continuous hours in a hospital. Whereas next year they're going to change it to where if you do 30 hours, then you have to have a 6-hour break, or a 6-hour nap break in the middle where you don't have a pager. Or they're going to change it, regardless, it's going to be less than 60 hours in a week. So the simple fact is there's a lot, and even the way that we're compensated. Currently, for residents, Medicare pays our salaries. So all the residency slots in America are paid for by Medicare. And part of the new healthcare bill actually takes that away, so it's going to be put on the hospitals to pay for residency. So there's a lot of things that are changing, and this is something that you're committed to. And a lot of things that we're saying aren't going to be applicable here in 2 years. So just keep in mind that, and even in what we've learned, it's so funny. You'll go out with community doctors, and they're telling you something that that's like brand new, and you learn that, and you're like, whatever. I've already learned that. That's old news. And that's the thing with medicine, is that we're learning stuff every day. You're always on the cutting edge of science. So if you enjoy learning every day and doing new stuff every day, that's going to get you through and make it fun. It's always on your feet. It's always new stuff. And if you say, hey, I'm going to be a doctor, it's power, it's money, it's prestige. If that's what you want, it's not worth it. It's fun.
You quickly find yourself unhappy. That's what you do.
I was just going to ask you if you thought the changes in healthcare, those stuff, do they scare any of you guys? Are you concerned?
Well, the way I look at it is supply and demand. There's about to be, 50 million baby boomers, something like that. And that's a shortage of doctors. So, it's going to be, I'm not worried. I'm going to be needed. I enjoy what I do. So, I'm not personally, I don't think that you're going to have to worry about compensation. And it's more than anything, internal medicine, one of the big issues is you have some sects of doctors making, $1 million a year, and you have family medicine doctors that scraping by at 130, if you call that scraping by. But what you're going to see more is more compensation away from specialists and more primary care physicians.
How is it going off on call all night and staying up for those long hours and then being able to function and operate?
Told me
You're
the answer to
call
that.
right now.
Yeah.
I've been up for 38 hours right now. So that's why I'm kind of teetering over here. No, it's pretty tough. It's demanding. No, seriously, I've been up for, 7:30. I got up at 6:30 yesterday morning and slept 2 hours last night. So I'm kind of broken. So lot of caffeine, and you kind of get you adapt to it. But the nice thing is that you're kind of stepwise, you know, you're kind of introduced to it. So in med school, like these guys, when they're introduced to call, they're not just saying, "Hey, all right, you guys are going to join us on call. 30 hours, you're up." You know, we're kind of nice to them. Get your sleep while you can.
Some services are, some aren't.
Some aren't, yeah. But you kind of get into it a little bit, and then as an intern, that's a pretty big step there, where you're kind of the workhorse doing all the work for I don't know time. But it's grueling. I think the best part about being on call and facing that 30-hour shift is that you're so busy most of the time you don't even notice. It's 4 o'clock in the morning and you're like, holy crap, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and I've been up for 18 hours. Or 20 hours, you don't even really think about it.
I feel like when you notice is this point, after you leave the hospital and you're like coming out, you're like, wait, I'm exhausted.
What was that phone for?
This point, yeah. What's going on here right now? Is what I'm saying.
The benefit of it is that sort of the way a hospitalization works is the person comes to the ER, and the ER doctor sort of looks at him and says, they need to come to the hospital or not. So you go see the patient, and in that first, in the 30 hours that you're there, that's when you're getting your test back. That's when you're trying to figure out what's going on. And you've got to start that treatment here to take care of whatever they have. Heart failure, you better start Lasix. If it's COPD, you better start the right thing. So if you go to a lesser system where you're not working there, or they're not there the whole time, you lose some of the benefit of gathering information, coming to a diagnosis, starting a treatment plan, and watching them get better in front of you before you go home. You're not handing that off in midstream. It's gratification. And as far as being fatigued, again, you're constantly doing stuff, so it's hard. But you also, when you think about, Clemson University is not necessarily teaching you information; they're teaching you a way to think. And it's similar with the way that residencies work. It's like they're teaching you how to think. You need to have systems, a way to think. You need to have patterns. And when you're tired, that's when those things can break down. So if you set in your mind certain ways to do things, you're not going to miss things, and you're going to have proper protocols to go through your different procedures or evaluation.
This is kind of for everybody, but if you could change anything, what would you do differently going through medical school again?
Mine's kind of easy because I ended up, during the first 2 years, you spend a lot of time studying. If you do it at home, that's great. If you do it at school, that's great. But there's a lot of commuting also. My mistake was I lived too far away. It's about a 30-minute drive every day, so it made it difficult for me to really interact with a lot of my classmates. And I think it's probably better studying at school, less distraction. I underestimated basically how much time I would need to spend studying. And how hard it would be to stay focused for 8 to 10 hours a day of straight study. So sometimes 16. But that would be my big thing. Make sure you're ready for it, and then have systems in place, things that you can do. Know what you need to do to relieve stress in a preventative way. I would say make sure you have a good workout regimen or something that you can do to stay healthy and blow off steam. Because it makes a huge difference. The more you, just in terms of the amount of energy you have to do things and not feeling so crummy all the time.
Good question.
I thought I'd taken some of gross anatomy. I know for myself, I didn't come from a health profession, and when I went to gross anatomy, it was like learning an entire new language. I didn't know any of it. None of it made sense to me. So it was difficult because what I found is during the whole entire time, I was sort of like learning a map by memorizing the names of cities and capitals. And for a lot of people who had already been exposed to the different, muscles and names and have some familiarity, they were able to learn the roads, streets, and all that. And I was busy saying, my gosh, what's the capital of Arizona? I know it's somewhere in here, but so I you expose yourself and build a base, it helps a lot. I wish I would have done that a little more.
What made the two of you decide to go to Greenville for your third instead of Columbia?
Well, AA's Clemson undergrad had ties to the FC already, and it's a lot better up here than it is in Columbia. No offense if anyone's from Columbia, but I was there for 2 years before I decided I wanted to do medicine. And then 2 years of med school before I came up here, and it's nice, but the city itself doesn't have as much of an appeal as Greenville. The other big factor for me was that it's a smaller group that comes to Greenville, so you get a lot more one-on-one FaceTime with patients. You get to do a lot more. Down there, they have, up here per rotation, we have usually 3, maybe 4 students on one. Down there, they have as many as 9 to 12. So if you're looking to get practice experience doing even just an interview with a patient, sometimes you have to share with another student. And I don't learn very well. I don't want to share.
I was gonna say, you guys are saying.
It's just a lot harder, I think, if you don't get actual practical experience doing things. I figured it'd be a little easier because I didn't want to have to. I don't like being mean. I didn't want to have to jump in front of someone else to get something done. So I just figured I'd come where I wouldn't have to work as hard to help people out.
I actually liked Columbia a lot while I was there. I think Columbia, if you have to work harder in Columbia to find, I'd say, your niche, but it's there. I think if you try. Greenville, I feel like it's more, everything's just in the same spot and there's lots to do, and it's definitely a cleaner city. So I do prefer Greenville, but I will say, like, if you're thinking about doing the first 2 years in Columbia, it's not a horrible place to live. And I came up here for the same reason he said, the smaller groups, because I don't like to elbow people. I think I don't know, I just don't like trying to talk over people and being really cutthroat. And the hospital system here is really nice. I just, in visiting it, everybody seems really happy, and it's just a very cooperative environment. It's a great environment. You should definitely, if you're thinking about going to USC and considering going to Greenville, you should definitely go check out the hospital and just see what you think about it. It's a really nice facility. And you said earlier about living in Columbia, living 30 minutes away. I agree with that. You should live fairly close to the school. I don't think you should live too close to the school, because my first year I lived like maybe 45 seconds from the school. I mean, I lived really close to the school, and that's almost like the drive in and the drive back isn't enough time to like leave school behind, decompress, and get to work. So I ended up living my second year about 15 minutes away and 3 blocks from the city. And it was really nice. I could walk downtown to Starbucks and do stuff like that. So I think you need to give yourself decompressing time between school and home. I think that's the key thing I would change about my first year.
Sure.
I just had a question about the residency in Greenville. What hospital do they do if you stay in Columbia? What hospital is Richmond? Is that your question?
It's
No,
Palmetto.
they're
It's the
fine.
Palmetto Health System. Most of them are at Richland, but they do some rotations through Baptist and a couple of other things in the Palmetto Health System down there.
Has your specialty like changed your perspective? Maybe on, has your residency changed your perspective on like your specialty? Is there one moment where like you really discovered something that you liked about it or something you didn't like about it?
You mean like clinical rotations or their residencies?
Just like, yeah, the residency, like their specialty.
Well, mine's a little unique because we generally joke at peds, because we're doing both internal medicine for adults and peds for children, pediatrics, that we're a little bipolar and we can't decide. And so that's a little bit of a tough question for us. But in general, I just always loved the complexity of the medical patient, the adult patient, the 20 medical problems, 20 meds, and then peds. It's just, for me, it was fun. Just